Buenas tardes a todos. Muchas gracias por sumarse a este ciclo de webinars.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining once again this webinar cycle at GeneXus. Today, we're going to have a presentation about this thing of unlocking the future, transforming legacy systems once and for all. And we're going to have Luis Murillo. He is our expert in legacy systems, SAP, and many other things. So I sincerely hope that you can get the most out of this. The dynamics will be as usual. First, we're going to hear it from Luis and his presentation, and after that, we will have a Q&A session. So then you can ask any questions that you may have, and we will hear it from Luis. Also, I would like to tell you that this webinar has simultaneous interpretation into English and Portuguese. The only thing that you've got to do is to click on the interpretation icon in the bottom part of your screen. So without further ado, I'll catch up with you at the end of the presentation. Luis, the floor is yours. Thank you so much, Aníbal. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone, first and foremost. Thank you so much for your time and for dedicating these minutes to listening to us and learning about this thing that I want to share with you, which is what we have at GeneXus to offer you in terms of transforming legacy systems, as Aníbal was saying, and we sincerely hope that our proposal will be a once and for all kind of proposal. The idea is not to stumble against over the same stone as we did before. Systems that used to work, but we don't update, and at the end of the day, it turns out to be this huge blocker. So the first thing that I wanted to tell you is why we're talking about legacy modernization nowadays. As I was preparing this presentation, I was doing some research on these systems, and I found a report by the International Journal of Advanced Research in Science, Communication, and Technology, which is quite new. It was issued in June last year, and this report, take a look at these data. They were quite astonishing, personally. They were saying how COBOL written systems, some of you are very young and you don't know about this programming language, but well, it was a language that came before the current languages that we use nowadays, and many people, perhaps younger generations, don't even know, have never heard its name. But take a look at these data. It says that there are 220 billion lines of COBOL that are in use today. But what really threw me is that 43% of the core of the banking systems are built with COBOL, and $3 trillion use COBOL written systems nowadays. And take a look at this. COBOL handles 95% of all ATM card swipes and card transactions, is 80%. So as you can see, this is quite a lot. Nowadays, many of our systems, the systems that have an effect on our daily lives, are written in this language or in these languages that come from such a long time ago. In the same report, we are shown the following information. And this is what is mostly worrying, and it's what is turning this into an issue that we have to address. Even though it says that 70% of business transactions are done using these systems, the average age of COBOL programmers is 55 years old. And even though there are 220 billion lines of code written in COBOL, according to polls that have recently been taken, it says that 70% of these universities don't include COBOL in their curricula. So it's not something that students will learn at most of these universities. As I was saying, this transforms the current situation into a problem that we need to address. We have a number of systems that support the business processes of our companies, the companies that affect our lives, that are written in these languages, which are legacy systems. And that is why we call them legacy systems to begin with. And developers that would be capable of dealing with these systems are on average 55 years of age, which for better or for worse means that they're close to retiring, or perhaps they have already retired. And at universities, as I said, these languages are not being taught in the curriculum. Now, we could tackle this issue saying, okay, we will rewrite the system and that's it. But if we took a look at this report in 30 years' time, perhaps what we see today happening for COBOL is going to be the same for Java. And if we take a look at this 50 years later, it's going to be the same thing for Angular. So programming languages will evolve. They just happen to evolve, and they have a finite life. Algorithms may last longer, but programming languages have a very short lifespan, and they're constantly being modified. So if we think that we're going to write our systems in a certain language, over time, we know that that language is going to be transformed into a legacy system, and that means that we're going to have to update it sooner or later. But as I was saying, algorithms and the know-how that we have stored in them, that does happen to be a bit more durable. It happens to last longer than if you compare it to programming languages. So what are we talking about here when we talk about legacy modernization? As software developers and as a company that provides this kind of service to automate the company's operations, perhaps back in the day, we used to think that we had a green field and we would tell the company, okay, give me your business processes. And here we have our blueprint of what we want to do, and we will build it from scratch. But nowadays, companies have a very high degree of automation. They already have their operations that are supported by these systems. Therefore, as a company that wants to offer and to sell automation of the new processes, or we want to offer them new systems to support old operations, or perhaps operations that they didn't used to have in their portfolio back in the day because technology has changed so fast and has opened the door to new business processes. Well, these systems that we will offer them will necessarily need to coexist with these systems that are pre-existing in the company. So what we're going to have to do is, well, these legacy systems, let's assume that a company is in point A of automation, and we want to take that to the next stage. We want to take them to this point B of automation. And to do this, we have two ways. The first one is to just go for a big bang kind of approach. So basically, let's just discard and send to the rubbish everything that you've automated, and let's rewrite the systems. And I don't think that it's the right path to follow. So what we offer instead is a gradual transformation process for these systems that follows a pattern in such a way that it will allow you not only to transform the legacy systems that the company already has in a gradual fashion, but also that it will allow you to add new features that will manage to coexist with this legacy system as part of that process of taking it from point A to point B. Now, where is the value of these legacy systems? Let's call them our digital assets. Yeah, there is a lot of knowledge that is embedded in these systems that doesn't seem to be logical to just throw it away and to start from scratch. So it would feel, in a way, I think, like reinventing the wheel. And what we want to do instead is to have successive improvements, leveraging the systems that these companies already have. But the value of these digital assets, of course, is given by the data. These systems have tables and charts and databases and a lot of value that we need to find a way to reuse. These systems have also a hidden logic in the procedures that are written in these languages that uh, nobody is using anymore, that it's so hard to find a developer for, to allow them to be updated or modified. And also we have a lot of process knowledge embedded, a lot of business knowledge as well. And needless to say, the users of these systems also have some embedded knowledge. And this is all that we want to preserve. So that's why we say that what we offer with GeneXus and our approach to the solution of this problem is to store those digital assets. And that is why in GeneXus, when we want to develop a project, we don't call it a software development project, but we use the concept of knowledge base. So when we want to develop a system using GeneXus, what we do is we create a knowledge base. And it is in this knowledge base where we will store all these knowledge of data, of processes, of user knowledge, so that the programming of these systems will be just a consequence of that knowledge that is accumulated in the knowledge base precisely. This means that in this knowledge base, in this GeneXus knowledge base, you don't want to just store the user knowledge that you have, but also you want to leverage all the knowledge that you have in these legacy systems, in these digital assets that in some way we will want to capture, to encapsulate into a GeneXus KB, so that from that moment on, the generation of upcoming programs will be just a consequence of all that accumulated knowledge that you have in your GeneXus KB. Now, the reality that we have come across based on our experience is that these legacy systems are like what you see on the left side of your screen, written with COBOL programmers or HTTP programmers in a manual way. But we must not deny that there are companies that have developed their systems in GeneXus with very old versions, and because they don't want to leave that comfort zone, they developed their systems, they left them in an old GeneXus version. And nowadays, there is a very, very large gap that prevents them from getting to more updated versions, and in this way to leverage all the latest features that you can get with the new GeneXus versions. So you may have legacy systems that are written by hand, or also legacy systems that were written with GeneXus. What we want to do is to merge these two worlds and bring them to a reality of a state of the art that we have nowadays, so that we can use the best of all the different features that the very, very fast and vertical speed that we have seen in technology gives us, and we can use that for the benefit of our companies. But at the same time, and as we said at the beginning, that this does not happen again in your future, so that we don't stumble over the same stone again. So we would end up having a virtuous cycle that with our systems developed in GeneXus, well, it would mean that there will never be a legacy system for future generations. If we take a look at the legacy systems that were manually written, then one of the most important things, as we said, is the data and the data structures where these data are stored. We're talking about legacy databases or tables or charts, because many times these systems that were written in COBOL and RPG, they didn't even have a database structure, but they were just basically tables and charts that were connected with one another, and the knowledge that you have in those tables, well, you want to capture that so that you can introduce it into a GeneXus KB. Once that is done, the rest of the path from now on, it's going to be much easier. So what do we offer in GeneXus that will allow you to interact with these legacy systems tables? Well, we have a tool that is called Database Reverse Engineering Tool, or DRET, because of the acronym is DRET, and it's capable of reading these tables, and based on them, it can generate GeneXus transactions that will capture the knowledge in an abstract way, as if it were a GeneXus transaction. And once we have that knowledge that was captured in a GeneXus transaction, it will be GeneXus that will do the rest of the work. But GeneXus also gives you the possibility of creating tables like the ones that were used by legacy systems, because if eventually we had to create a table with these very old structures, then we could also in GeneXus create tables that follow these characteristics. This is what we call DDS tables. So you have the best of both worlds, because GeneXus has the embedded knowledge to keep on creating tables with these ancient old structures, but at the same time we have the knowledge to capture the knowledge embedded in those tables. And what else do we have? I was saying that we have the hidden logics that are found in the manually written procedures in these archaic languages such as COBOL or RPG. The knowledge of these procedures may eventually be useful for a GeneXus KB. We all know a process, a procedure that is written in one of these languages, but their task nowadays for this transition process, while I am updating the legacy system, well, maybe I still want to use it. I still want to leverage that knowledge. And so again, what you want to do in this case is to capture those objects that eventually may have a function that you can reuse in this transition process in your legacy systems. And so again, in GeneXus, to introduce that know-how to the knowledge base, what you can do is a COBOL or an RPG program. You can define it in your knowledge base as an external object and invoke it as a procedure. So if it is specific and it has a very specific task for that legacy system, and in this process of trying to update your system, you need at any point to invoke it, then of course you may do so by using it as a stored procedure. But it may happen that someone wants to write a program using COBOL or RPG. It's not what's most common and it's not recommended, but if you were to do it, if you wanted, GeneXus still has the COBOL RPG generators. So that means that you can also use GeneXus to write programs using these two languages. That means if you don't have RPG or COBOL generators, well, in that case, GeneXus can generate code in these languages. Why would it be useful, or how it would be useful? Well, it beats me. It doesn't seem to be very useful. But if you happen to need to do this and you need to use these languages, then you can use the generators. And of course, you can keep on generating programs in these languages. And as I was telling you, it could also happen that you have legacy systems that were developed with GeneXus from the beginning, but they are very old versions and they were not updated over time. So in these cases, you're going to have business logics and processes embedded in a GeneXus KB. It's going to be a much more controlled environment and the process is going to be much easier. But at the same time, it means that you will have to update in one way or another, the system from a very old GeneXus version to the more current versions. And if that is too much of a leap, well, there is a control process that you need to do to make these updates and guarantee that everything that that old version used to generate will remain unchanged with the new versions that you're using. And for this, you have tools, methodologies, and a very, very deep know-how that is made available um, to our customers so that you can come to us and we can give you the safest path to follow in this migration process so that it will be agile and efficient. All this methodology and these toolings are documented in our wiki, and as I was telling you, you can also reach us for us to give you any kind of advice that you may need in this migration process. So, as I was telling you, all of this is hidden in these systems, and the path that we propose is to capture all this knowledge in a knowledge base so that from now on, the generated code will be a consequence of that knowledge that is embedded in your GeneXus KB. That you will be generating it today in one language, but perhaps tomorrow you will be using whatever language is the state of the art at that point in the future, because the knowledge of our business is embedded in your GeneXus KB. And it is GeneXus that, in an automatic way, will be generating the programs for the application in whatever language is needed at any point in time. Now, if you want to stop this from happening again in the future, and at some point you feel that you have your GeneXus system in an older GeneXus version, because of course GeneXus will keep on evolving, is that we propose to have continuous integration processes and continuous delivery processes in your very GeneXus KBs. This will mean that coding, building, and testing will happen automatically. And on top of that, you can publish all of this with one click to production. So, in such a way that by having these processes automated in an agile way, you will get the practice and you will get better at the exercise of continuously updating your knowledge base and continuously updating your systems. And this way, you know that you will never end up with a system that was developed many years ago, and just because you want to meet the expectations or the tasks for which it was they asked you to build that system, you will just stay in that comfort zone and never leave it. So by automating all the process, you will be continuously having your systems up to date, and never again will it happen that you will end up having a system developed with GeneXus and that becomes for future generations a legacy system. Additionally, with this, you are enabling a way to digital transformation in your companies. Because what does this mean, in other words, when we talk about digital transformation? What is it if not incorporating to your company's business processes the new technologies? And the new technologies are nowadays AI, maybe tomorrow it will be something else. But these new technologies cannot be developed in languages that are archaic and that will not adapt to the new trends. So if you want to truly apply digital transformation in a company, you cannot have written systems using legacy systems or legacy languages that will not support the new technologies. So legacy modernization is, in my own opinion, a path or a way to truly and finally achieve digital transformation. So what are the problems that companies usually come across nowadays? Those companies that have all their operations supported by these legacy systems. They have bad user experiences. It's really difficult to find RPG or COBOL developers. Uh, Also, the need to introduce new technologies, because even though you have these languages and that is working well, these languages, because they're so old, will not support the new technologies, and therefore you will have to use new languages. Well, the need to use legacy databases, and so on and so forth. Everything that we have discussed so far. So what are we talking about? We're talking about moving from systems that will give you this UI, that have these screens, to systems that have a user experience that is okay for today. Additionally, you can incorporate new technologies such as smart device solutions or any other kind of solution. And nowadays, you can incorporate designs that were developed not by developers, as we used to do back in the day, but by design teams. So you have this possibility in GeneXus of having a design team that will create a design with a very rich user experience, and you can incorporate that to your systems. And at the same time, this can use data and reuse processes of these legacy systems in this period that we are going through while this process lasts, and you're updating the system. Allow me to show you very quickly a demo that shows you how you could update these systems. Here you have a banking system written in COBOL, where you're managing your customers' accounts. You have the different transactions, the users, the transfers from one account to another. And this system needs to stay alive, but in some way you need to modernize it. So in GeneXus, you can use this tool that is called database reverse engineering tool, and you will connect to the database or the tables of that legacy system that were written in COBOL in this case. Once you connect to that system, you will see all the different tables that you have in the system, and you want to capture that knowledge in a GeneXus knowledge base. So you're importing those data views of those tables that were created by COBOL programmers, and you're importing that into GeneXus. Once these structures are imported into your your GeneXus knowledge base, the rest of the road is much easier and much more downhill, because GeneXus is automatically defining the transactions that are associated to those tables in such a way that it will be capable of writing the update programs and the modification and migration programs on these tables in an automatic way. So it's going to be GeneXus that from now will take over, and it will be capable of writing the update programs on these tables on top of inferring the data model, but it will be, above all, writing automatically the update programs for these languages. And what language? Well, it may be Net or Java. Perhaps tomorrow it will be using Angular, and you don't really care about that, because you have captured the knowledge of the program generation, and that will happen automatically now and forever. And that's the consequence of having that captured knowledge in your knowledge base. So here you can see how that green screen that we had, that was used so many years ago, just one click away, because you imported the structure. Well, it gives you a .NET application that can be used and allows you to interact with the same data that receive the tables of the legacy system. On top of this, using the GeneXus approach, The development of software based on patterns allows you to apply one of the many patterns that you have, and now you have a much richer interaction so that you can use the same tables and your users can have a much more pleasant experience. And as you can see, this will capture the data and the knowledge of the relations that you have between the different tables just 2 clicks away. You need to apply some patterns, and the rest of the work, the rest of all the programming is done in the background by GeneXus. As you can see here, you can interact with the same data, you can create new users, and the users that you create with this application using GeneXus will end up having an impact on the same tables and the same systems, legacy systems, and therefore the legacy system in turn will see the very same data that you will be creating right here. So here you see how the users that are still using the legacy systems will have their data reflected in this new system that in a gradual way I built gradually. And in the same way that I use legacy tables, I can create my own tables. And from this moment on, I can allow the system to grow. And I can allow this database to grow, but now from within the GeneXus knowledge base in such a way that you can incorporate new features to the business without having to recode and reprogram everything in those very old languages such as RPG or COBOL. In this case, if the banking system incorporates the credit card system, then you would have to create the tables for that. You have to create credit card types, and so on and so forth. And all these tables, you didn't have them in your legacy systems, but that doesn't matter. You can just create it from your GeneXus knowledge base. And all of this is going to be related to the tables and to the system that you had previously. And now you will have all your business operations, all these new business operations that will be supported by this new feature that you have added to your system. Now, as I was also saying, I may want to incorporate all this business management using, for example, cell phones. So my design team is going to design a number of navigation screens that will allow you to develop applications for smart devices and will also interact with these legacy systems tables. So what you're doing is from GeneXus, you import all the design that you chose through, I think that I can, as a programmer, I think that I can create good screens, but when the design team works on it, they just show how bad mine are. And so the best thing is just to leave that to the people that can actually do design, and what you will do is import whatever the design team creates for you, and you import it into GeneXus in such a way that now all the screens and all the panels for the application to be running on your mobile phone will be automatically generated just because you incorporated this design. And now you see that we have the smart device transaction that navigates depending on what your design team define. But in this case, you're just seeing fake data, testing data, which is what GeneXus did to generate the panels and show you how you can browse it. So what you need to do is to go to those objects that were automatically generated and to say in the different fields that instead of, for example, seeing the test data, you wouldn't mention the names of the attributes of the tables of that legacy system that you captured through that you captured before. You mention the names of the attributes, and it is GeneXus that will be figuring out all the navigation between the tables. And just by changing this, the moment that you tell GeneXus that it should regenerate the application, but now instead of using the fictional data that you used, it has to take the attributes that appear on those tables of that legacy system that you used initially. Now, when you execute it, you will have a real GeneXus, real data that GeneXus is directly reading from the tables that were present in that system that, now is old. So just a few clicks away, I managed to update a system with a green screen, and now I have a new tables, a new system, and all of this interacting with that old legacy system that we will be gradually migrating. And in that migration process, I will just, and now I don't need to go through that Big Bang process to start from scratch, but I will be gradually reusing whatever I have as I migrate my stuff and I update it. So as a result, you have a future-proof application. And as you know, our slogan is eternal youth for your code. And that is what you have. But I changed this slightly because what I like to say is that what we are giving eternal youth is to your knowledge. The knowledge will always remain young, and the code that you generate will be automatically generated, always based on that knowledge that you're capturing through your GeneXus knowledge bases. So we think that the solution to this problem that the industry is facing on a daily basis is to capture that knowledge in a GeneXus knowledge base, and then you let GeneXus generate the code automatically, now and forever, in the language that is the state of the art at that time, or whatever language may be the state of the art tomorrow. There are many companies that have gone through this process. We have a lot of success stories. We have migrated and legacy systems that nowadays are state of the art, and it would have been really difficult to update it if they hadn't been written with GeneXus. Okay, so this is a bit of what I wanted to share with you. As Aníbal was saying, now we're going to open the room for this Q&A session. Whatever comment or question you may have, I'm all ears. And as I was telling you, we are also at your service. If you just want to drop a line or ring us up, and we can help you update your systems, definitely. But yeah, let's start with the Q&A session. Aníbal. Thank you so much, Luis. Every time that I see this presentation, I'm still blown, because some of us that have been in the software industry for a while, seeing how a legacy system with a green screen may turn into a mobile application, it's wow. From Mexico, Alan Fuentes is asking us if the reverse engineering works for the IBM Z series platform. No, it works for all the databases or tables with a DDS. Basically, yeah. Okay. Thank you so much. And it works for systems with database, for any kind of IBM data, any kind of database. Yes, any database that we support, and in particular DDS tables. Yes, could be SQL, HANA DB, all the ones that GeneXus supports. and of course DDS tables. Yes,
Esto, pero
because the demo goes way back to those green screens, but we have a lot of legacy systems like Visual Fox or Visual Basic, some technologies that are also legacy systems and that perhaps are supported on a database system and that can also be migrated, right?
no veo muchas más preguntas. ¿Alguna pregunta más
Okay, I don't see many more questions. Do we have anything else for
alguien
Luis?
que quiera levantar la mano o escribir
Anybody that would
en la
like
consulta?
to raise their
Angélica,
hand or write something?
el tema de la
Okay, we have
sincronización,
Angelica Cervantes, and she's saying,
esa
uh,
asesoría de migración
trying to find
de
that
nuestros sistemas de
advice that
legacy.
we
Estamos
need
hablando de una
in the
consulta
migration of our legacy systems. Are we talking about a consultancy process? Yeah, perhaps Aníbal, you would be better answering that question. You're the commercial team.
En
Okay, I'm at
principio,
your service from the
no tengo
technical
nada abierto
point
para
of view.
charlar este tema, ¿no?
No,
Pero
we're open to just
vamos a ver un
begin to
poco
have this
en qué situación está
conversation and
el
assess the
sistema
different
y
alternatives and see
quizás
the current situation of your
de alguna
systems.
manera ahí podamos
And
hablar
if
de
we
los
do
sistemas
need
modernos
this consultancy process, then we can just start talking.
algunos
We don't
modernize
usually do that,
o
but
algunos
what we do is we help you
y
through
bueno,
partners or perhaps an organization that will be specifically
migración
doing that kind of consultancy process of how you can evolve your legacy systems.
¿Alguna otra pregunta? Juan Rolando Moreno,
Any other
¿puedes
question?
entrar en la
Juan Orlando
wiki
Moreno is saying, can you
sobre la migración de versiones
tell us
de
the wiki with the
GeneXus
migration tools for
18?
GeneXus versions, for example, migrating from GeneXus 8 to GeneXus 18? Yeah, of course. Aníbal, you're going to be sharing the slides, and so I'm going to add some links to the wiki documentation there.
Lo pueden ver ahí.
Yeah, definitely.
¿Cuáles serían las
Let's get that.
recomendaciones de desarrollo con
Another
GeneXus
one.
para
What would be
migrar
the
de
development recommendations with GeneXus so that it's easy to migrate it to modern versions? Okay, so as I was telling you, if your system has already been developed in GeneXus, you're in a more comfortable situation because it's just about making sure that the generation gap between older versions doesn't really change what you had developed in the past. But anyway, it's as we were saying, the migration process is automatic. You can get any knowledge base in any GeneXus version, and you can open it in newer versions. It's just about opening it in a newer version, and GeneXus will convert it. The only thing that you need to do is to make sure that the navigation processes haven't really varied or that you haven't optimized the navigation that will be changing your behavior. It doesn't mean that it's wrong now and that it was that it's okay now and wrong in the past, but they will behave differently. If you have a system that uses a previous version, then you optimize, then you just need to keep everything in check and need to make sure that the behavior is the same. And that's why we have a methodology that you have to follow to run these updates. But you just need to open it in the new GeneXus version, and that's it. And of course, with a previous backup, needless to say. So if you don't want this to happen again, we have a number of toolings and technologies that are continuous delivery tools. That means that companies can get that practice of not staying for such a long time in the comfort zone, and they will be automating that process, those processes continuously, so that it will be an everyday thing, this thing of generating, testing, putting into production, and so on and so forth. You change one version, you have a new upgrade with GeneXus, you install the new upgrade, you generate, you test, you put in production. And so when you go through this process on a regular basis, keeps the system alive, and it will never happen to you that you will end up with a very old version or language because you will be automating everything that you can automate.
Muy bien. Luis, tengo una pregunta que viene desde YouTube.
Okay, I have a question from one of our YouTube viewers. Jorge Alondo says, with MongoDB databases, can you use the reverse engineering tool? Good question. as we like to be honest, I'm gonna say that I don't know the answers to that one. We will get back to you, Luis, with the answer.
Bueno, ¿alguna
Thank you
otra
very much.
pregunta?
Okay, any other question?
Bueno, si no tenemos más.
Very good.
Acá tenemos una. Bueno, gracias, Allen.
Oh, we
Alan
have one.
dice, excelente presentación
Alan
desde
is saying, excellent presentation. Thank
Yucatán,
you very much.
México. Bueno, si no
Our
tenemos
friend
más
Alan from
preguntas,
Mexico. So if we have no further questions, let's close this
este
webinar.
año,
I'd like to
en
remind you
noviembre, vamos a
that
tener
this year in November, we are
el
going to
currículum
have
y ya nuestra
the
página va a seguir viendo
GX30 event.
información
And on our
sobre
website,
todo
you
la
can find a
información
lot
del
of
currículum.
information about it.
Así que los
We
invito
already
a
have our
todos
call for speakers out. So looking forward to seeing you all, looking forward
la
to
presentación
having you here. And
el currículum está abierto.
if you're interested in giving a presentation, the call for speakers is more than open. Thank you so much, Luis.
Por tu
Thank you,
presentación y gracias por
everyone.
sumarse. Tengo
Thanks for your
una
presentation.
pregunta
I
Dalton
have one last
de
question
Brasil que dice,
by Dalton
¿cómo consigue
from Brazil. It says, how can I be a beta test? You just need to register on the side. If you want to be a beta tester, maybe anyone, you can tell them about how to do that. Yeah,
exacto,
yeah,
manden un
just
mail y
send an email, right?
nosotros les decimos
Yeah,
cómo
you send us an email
hacerlo.
and we'll get back to you.
GX
But
Technical es donde está
on
toda
the
la
GX technical
información
side is where you will find all
Bueno,
the
muchas
information for
gracias
the
y nos
beta
vemos
tester
en el
for.
siguiente webinar.
So thank you so very much and see you next time around.
Hasta luego.
Thank you very much for your time. Bye bye.